Welcome back to the Outlaw Ranch. Today I thought we'd get started on this other top hat that goes on the front axle here. I probably should have started with it because this is where all the obstructions are. The engine cross member, oil pan, exhaust, even the transmission cross member there. And these tubes, if you'll remember, these subframe kickers here that come off the cradle, the frame pinches in at the front. And so even the distance between this tube and the other tube over there is more narrow than it is at the back. So we're going to get started. We're going to assemble this one. We did learn a lot of lessons on the last one. So let's get started and let's get some work done. Y'all hang out. All right, y'all. As you can see, I have this top hat here temporarily installed. It's temporary because Beyond Precise is cutting me a new top plate here that is that's going to come all the way, be rectangular. And then on this side, he added 2.5 inches for me. So what I did was I installed that just so I had a nice clean sheet or slate, so that I can get this axle centered underneath the truck. As you can see, because the floor jack swings on an arc there, that axle came forward. You can see the plumb bobs there. The plumb bob should be somewhere between this seam here and the back end of that axle at ride height. The axle is now at ride height, so what I got to do is just push it back, get it centered, left to right, front to back, everything. And I'm going to double check my measurements. I'm hoping, again, to make all of my links, bottom links at least, the same front to back. And the upper links, I'm hoping they're same front to back, left to right, and all of that. And ideally, all 8 links would be the same size. I don't know if I can do that, but I do want to kind of try to do that. So anyways, let's get this axle centered up underneath this truck, and I'll show you guys how I do it. Stand by, y'all. All right, y'all. This is a little trick that I kind of came up with. This is just a piece of 3/16 by 1 inch. It was 4 foot long. I got it at Tractor Supply some time ago, and I install it upright here against the wheel mount surface, and then I just use a couple of lug nuts to hold it in place. I did that on both sides, as you can see here. Make them so that they stand up, straight up and down here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my tape measure, and I'm going to measure from the inside of that one to the inside of this one, come up with a measurement, divide it by 2, measure from one side to the other, and I'm going to put a little Sharpie mark right there on that top hat so I know exactly what the center of this axle is, left to right. The next thing I need to do now is take these plumb bobs and lengthen them. This was where the axle was at full bump. Now that we're at ride height, you can see we got to lower them a long way. That helps us eliminate guesswork and eyeballing, that kind of thing. So stand by, let's get these plumb bobs lowered and continue our work. All right, y'all, I thought I'd kind of quickly try and show you how I did this. It is kind of tight quarters under here. You have to forgive me here. So what I did, from my metal post to my metal post, I actually had them rotated. You can see we can rotate them straight up, okay, from the yoke here. So now we're straight up. Measured them out. It was 79 7/8. Half 39 7/8, or 79 7/8, I'm sorry, is 39 15/16. We made our little tick mark here. Then what I did, I just took it's just a carpenter speed square. I made kind of an assumption that this bracket was cut square, but look at how precise everything else is from Beyond Precise. So all I did was come over here, run my square along that edge as much as I could here, and transferred my mark. There's my center line. Now, there's a couple of different ways we could get our center line. We could actually come up here and we could measure in between our frame rails here and find a center point. And then we could, transfer that mark down, come off this engine cradle with our center point and run a plumb bob here. I am out of plumb bobs. I have 5 of them hanging on the truck, one on each corner here, and then the one where I just did the cradles, or the bracing in the cradles. So what I did instead was we're going to take this, we're going to rotate this pinion here so those 2 pieces of steel end up being more in line with our string line here. And we're just going to measure from side to side. It turns out from this side to here was 24.5. From this plumb bob here to that side was 25. So we are off 1/4 of an inch. The entire axle here needs to shift to the driver's side 1/4 inch. But I thought you guys might like to see kind of a quick, down and dirty, easy way to find the center line of this axle and continue, to find the center line here or get the axle centered underneath the truck. So that was it. That was just my little quick tip here. I hope you guys could use it. And we're going to keep working. We're going to get this axle centered, and we'll show you all what it looks like. Stand by. All right, y'all. This axle is now, the front axle is centered, left to right, front to back. It's good to go. I did measure from the leading edge here of the axle housing, right here to here, and I ended up with 49.5, I think it was. Then the same thing on the back. We measure from here to the leading edge of the axle, and we are at 51. So we're about 1.5 inches off. Now, normally on these mud trucks, what we try to do is we actually try to push that front axle forward just a little bit. The reason we do is we don't want this truck to be pulling wheelies when we stab the throttle. We stab that throttle, we want all of that weight transferred to the rear end. We want that rear end to plant and shoot us forward. And a good way to do that is to help move some of the weight forward just a little bit. So moving this front axle forward that 1.5 inches, no big deal. The other thing is these links have hind joints on either side, here and here. One side's the left hand, one side's the right hand. You just break those jam nuts and then you just twist that link and you can shorten or lengthen them. And you're probably given like 2 or 3 inches of good measurement. So we're still going to cut all our links the same size, and we're going to install the lower links. We're going to cut all 4 lower links the same size, and we'll get our tabs put in on our axles once our new shock tabs come in. The shock tabs kind of have to go in a particular area, and so then we'll get to locating those lower axle tabs at that point. But for right now, this will conclude this video. I am so very grateful and thankful. I've picked up some more subscribers. Thank you. Thank you to all of you who watch my videos. I am very grateful and really blessed that you guys would do that. So thank you so much for that. And I think that's going to do it for today. We got this axle centered. We got the top hat installed. We learned some lessons from the last one. Oh, one thing. Let me show you guys this. If you'll remember, on the rear axle, there was a little plug that we had to drill and mill. On this one, there isn't. So not every axle is the same. And the other thing is all 8 of those bolts in that top hat, perfect. Again, very, very well done by Beyond Precise. I will put a link to their website in the description on this video. So if y'all need anything, give him a call. He does a great job. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.